Alright folks, this is our Flaming Friday number 6. Today we're answering the question, what about my deciduous trees? And if you look, you can see an ash tree right here, and then this is also an ash tree, and it is dead. There's several of them there. So what about the deciduous trees? And right now the ash is a little bit controversial, or in the news, I should say, not controversial, but we hear about the ash beetle moving its way from eastern Nebraska this way. So people that are concerned about their deciduous trees, they ask this from time to time, and it was one of the first real objections that I heard after moving back and being part of the LCRA again. Was what do we do about the deciduous trees? And the first answer is, well, some of them are going to die. There's no doubt about it. Some of them will be burnt. They'll be burnt good at the base, and it'll kill the tree. And the dead tree has some benefits and some negatives to it. But there's also this big live ash. I don't know if you can see it real well, but it's got small cedars, and that one is a pretty big cedar skeleton growing underneath it. And my real question and real answer to the question is, what about that ash tree? Is it worth saving that one? Those two that are dead, there's more than that there, and there's three or four of them there that died. But what about those? They died, but did you actually care about them before? The real answer, or the real evidence, is that you didn't care about them before. They're kind of growing at a slanted angle. That's a natural tree, obviously, but if you wanted a real healthy tree, you'd have cut down the ones around it, and you'd have trimmed that one up and made sure it grew straight and big and stout. And at least it'd have some economic value for a good lumber. It wouldn't be a hazard. It would have a longer life since it would grow straight and true. And then the other obvious reason that you didn't care about it before is that you allowed cedars to grow underneath it. So this live one, with all these little trees growing underneath it, that's the real problem. Is if we do nothing, if we continue to save the deciduous tree so that it continues to grow. I'm not going to apply fire because it'll kill that tree. And there is something to be said here that not all types of fire applied to the landscape will kill that tree either. So it depends on the day and how you have it set up, and you could probably save the tree by prepping around it if you really wanted to. And in fact, we have burnt units where we've had all sorts of different infrastructure inside, including pine trees and whatever else that the landowner wanted to save, and we did save them just by prepping around them real well and then paying a little bit of attention on burn day. But if we do nothing, these small cedars will choke out that big healthy ash tree. And in the long run, when the ash does die, the cedars won't have died, and they won't allow any more ash to regenerate. They won't allow any more deciduous brush, and they won't allow any brush or other deciduous species to come back in. We have a lot of hackberry here. We have a good amount of ash, some box elder. We're losing a lot of our elms to the elm beetle, but there's still healthy elms around, and all of those trees deserve just as much of a fighting chance as a normal level of cedar trees. And by applying fire back to the landscape, we retain a healthy number of our deciduous trees, which do have, I'd say, more economic value than the cedar tree. And the cedar will choke out future generations to where eventually that's all we'll have. For those people that argue that we should let our cedars grow so that we can log them, I don't think you can see. I'll just take you over there. In these ash trees, there is a big cedar that is of interest. And you can see it right there. That's an older cedar tree. It's been around for quite a few years. I would guess anywhere from 35 to 50 years. And if you think I'm wrong, I'll bet you, and you can come cut it down and count the rings. And there's another one right behind it. The one behind it's pretty straight and true, and the one in front here has got big nasty limbs on it. The cedars that we grow in the hills here are, in the words of our local NRCS agent, like a big ugly bush. And when you cut them down, they're more like a tumbleweed. There's not a whole lot of economic value. There's not a whole lot of valuable lumber there to be harvested. And when you cut down these trees, you'll also find that most of the red in the center is very small, meaning that there's a whole pile of sapwood in there, and you'll get a 6-inch good chunk of red out of it. And the sapwood is pretty poor for lumber quality, for anything that we'd want to use it for. So that answers, that's how I would begin to answer that question. What about our deciduous trees? Is that if you're not managing the cedars underneath, you don't actually care about the deciduous to start with. And if you aren't managing your deciduous before the cedars are under them, it's arguable that you don't necessarily care that much about them either. So, I hope to see you next week. This is Flaming Friday number 6. So thanks for watching.